All right. Okay. Should I just kind of pick up where?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, sorry before the time constraints of a free Zoom account so rudely interrupted us. Yeah, I was talking about how it is that I'm at this place now where I'm so close to being able to actually record this album, and so as I was saying, I in one way or another, whether it's directly or indirectly, I've been working on the album the whole time over this past 9 years, um, and it's like working on that kind of time scale. It's kind of like watching a kid grow. It's like if you live in the same house with the kid, like if that kid is your little sibling or whatever, like you don't really see them growing. But if that kid is your cousin or something like that, and you see that kid like a couple times a year, it's like that kid looks significantly larger every time you see them. um and so it's I was either directly or indirectly, I was working away on this album over 9 years. But and then one day, just in the last couple months, I just I just kind of like took a step back and just looked at everything that was there, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is almost done. It's like whoa, like okay, this song's written, this that's like almost every song. Like I just at that point is basically just like I just need to write one more song, and then I have all the songs for the album. And it's like once so where it is now is I there's just one song that I need to write lyrics for. That's it. Like all the instrumental writing is done, all the backup vocal writing, it like all that stuff is done. I have one song that I need to write lyrics for, and then I can, book a session and start practicing for the session.
Oh
But
yeah.
took a long time to get here.
Yeah. Congratulations. Holy shit. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. Great. On to our next question then. Um, just oh, okay. So cool. So you said, um, oh, so can you clarify on how you balanced your practicing with your writing and notating?
Oh, yes. So that's another thing that took me so much time and energy to figure out over the last 9 years. And that's another reason why it's taken me this long to be where I finally am today. Yeah, so when I was, when I was first starting to work on this, it was like, when I've done recorded albums in the past, there's been times when I've been doing something, for example, like writing instead of practicing, just like having days where I write all day, sometimes for a few days in a row. And it's like, that's awesome. But it's like, after a few days of something like that, pick up the bass, and it's like, I'm not playing so well. And I didn't want that to happen. That was another thing that I didn't want to happen this time around. So I wanted to figure out like how to make sure that that didn't happen. Um and I don't know, I guess as far as that goes, there's something that I made a conscious decision to start doing is to have my instrument in my hand whenever I'm writing. And I used to not do that a lot. Like I used to a lot of time, unless I specifically needed an instrument for some piece of the writing process, I used to deliberately not have an instrument with me a lot of the time when I was writing because I wanted to develop my abilities to write just in my head. Um, and that's great. I'm glad I've done that. But, at this point, it's like I have those abilities. They're there. Like, it's the kind of skill that like you can't once you get to a certain point, it's not like you can like develop it further. It's kind of like you can either do it or not. And I'm at the point where I can do it, so it's like I don't need to do that anymore. And so, I can have my instrument in my hand. I can like play a bass line or chords or whatever while I, hum a vocal melody or like another kind of instrumental melody on top of it. And, I can kind of write more that way. And it's not the same as dedicated practice. It's not the same as like sitting there and like going through repertoire or like, doing exercises or whatever. But it is time with your instrument in your hand. So that's been helpful. And also, I've kind of like figured out figured out stuff in my practice routine. Like, okay, like, um, how much time do I need to spend a week, singing at full volume so my singing doesn't get rusty, or how much time do I need to spend a week, like, improvising so my improvising doesn't get rusty. Figuring that stuff out, figuring out like not just how much time do I spend a week, but also kind of figuring out like, okay, if I spend this amount of time, it doesn't matter, it's not enough, I'll get rusty. If I spend this amount of time, it'll keep me at a certain level. If I spend this amount of time, it'll keep me moving forward and continuously improving. And like kind of figuring out like, okay, when are the times? Well, obviously, I don't ever want to be going backwards and like getting rusty and losing stuff, but kind of figuring out like, okay, this week, you know, can I afford to like do the put in the practice time to keep me just at my level? Like, is that okay to do this week? Or like, do I need to be putting in the practice time where I'm moving forward? And then and it's like, what's the minimum amount of time for each? So then I could spend the rest of the time writing. And then when I'm writing, I have my instrument in my hand. And so I, this balance that I've figured out between keeping my instrumental and my vocal chops, in shape or moving forward or whatever combination thereof, and writing and working directly on the album, like this balance. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's way better than anything I've had thus far. And for the time being, it seems to be working. It is working. So yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know how you do it. That's so impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. If you want to answer this one of the questions I have here is, what is some of the more advanced gear that you got and why?
That yeah, I'll totally answer that. Well, so that's when I was talking about all the reasons why this album's taking so long to record earlier. That's something I forgot to mention. So you know, as I constantly remind myself and the world around me, I'm a musician. I'm a performer. I'm a creator of music. Um, I've never been much of a gearhead. It's kind of like, I don't know. I've had so many experiences where, you know, I play a set of some sort somewhere, and someone comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, is that a like fretless Fender J bass?" Is like, oh, let me check on that. It was like, oh, this must have been made between like this year and this year because I know like between these years they were, making this kind of this neck this way, blah 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 blah, blah. And it's like, outwardly I'm being polite, like, oh, cool, awesome, but in my head I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I just play these things. It's like all the time that you're spending, you know, geeking out about this stuff, I'm actually playing this thing. But at a certain point, I started to feel like, hey, I'm putting so much of myself into my playing, and I've never done the research to figure out like, well, what kind of amp do I think showcases all of the hard work that I've put into my playing through the best, or like, what kind of, I don't know, like, what kind of strings, are going to like showcase that work the best. And that, like, there's I, I've I've kind of moved past the mentality that like a bass amp is a bass amp, or like a string is a string. I've gotten to that point where it's like I want to do justice to, I want to like show some respect to myself. I want to show some respect to all of that time and energy I've spent developing my playing and writing and everything. And so I
Heck yeah.
like I have all this gear, like all these amps, in some cases, you know, instruments, like microphones, just all these things that are going to be involved with the recording process that I've needed to update before I start recording. And of course that ends up tying into the money issue too, because it's like a lot of, after I finally did the research that I should have done a million years ago, I've discovered that some of the things that work better for me cost a considerable larger amount of money than the things that I just bought back in the day without really thinking about. And so, like, once again, please become a paid subscriber on patreon.com/Elliot Racine. Like, you're going to help me with that. It's like, yeah, I'm upgrading this gear. It means I'm selling old stuff and using the money to buy new stuff. But it's like some of the new stuff is way more expensive than the old stuff. So I need all the help I can get with that, as well as the studio time and all that stuff. So um, please, everybody, become a paid subscriber on patreon.com/Elliot Racine.
Please support this shit. Oh yeah. All right. Cool. Next question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said the music on this album will be very much rooted in traditional music styles from around the world, especially in the rhythms, scales, and composition. What are some of, or like the primary places slash traditions that they will be rooted from, and will you be mixing them together? I know you're probably mixing them together, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely am mixing them together, of course. But yeah, there's gonna be certain songs that, kind of conjure up they kind of place one influence, more or less prominently than others. I guess as far as, specific kinds of music or music from specific places, um, it's really going to be all over. Like, there's definitely going to be some indigenous, North American, indigenous South American influence, like Polynesian influence, like Eastern European influence, um, kind of like Mongolian-y, Central Asian-y type influence. I think kind of the one of the things though is like I'm not setting out to recreate anything. I mean, kind of the way that I feel about all of that music and the way my music relates to it is like I of course I want people to listen to my music and I want people to have their own special relationship with my music specifically, but I also want my music to be something that can lead them to this other music. Like I want, a lot of these traditional styles of music, I mean, a lot of them are endangered and I I don't want to see them disappear. I feel like tears are welling up in my eyes when I even talk about that. Like the world would be missing so much if some of these styles of music went away. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not setting out to recreate them or to be a performer or a recording artist in any of these specific genres. I I want my music to, in addition to being something that people have a unique relationship with, I also want it to be a connection point that people can use to also connect with these beautiful, beautiful forms of music that in some cases unfortunately are in danger of going extinct, and hopefully through the connections that they form with that music themselves and with the connection they form with it through my music, I hope to, in even if it's in an indirect way, kind of be doing something to do my part to make sure that so much of the beautiful music in the world doesn't go away through my music, because I live through my music.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Um, yeah. I feel like that I could talk about that for like a really long time, but I guess just like I'm glad that you're doing this and um yeah, fuck yeah. I'm sure lots of people really appreciate that and it's really beautiful to see kind of happen. Um yeah. Oh yeah. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next question if there unless there's anything else you wanted to kind of talk about for that topic.
I mean, well, yeah, like you said, I mean, I feel like that's its whole topic that we could talk about all day. But I think I'm ready for the next question. If
Okay, cool. Yeah. Um, yeah, wow. Okay. So, um, how will your new album be more focused on the bass than your last album? Curiosity.
um, so I don't want to give away any surprises, um, but we you'll see.
Okay. Yeah, you'll see. Yeah. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Um, yeah. All right, all right, all right. Do you have a title or a vibe that you're thinking of for it yet? I know vibe is kind of like muse, but I was thinking about like a title, I guess.
Yeah, I do have a title. I'm not quite ready to announce the title yet. I think I'll announce the title like closer to release time. And yeah, as far as a vibe goes, like, yeah, I mean, as we were saying, definitely very rootsy. And, like I said earlier, And I want to make something that sounds like it could be 1,000 years old and 5 seconds old at the same time.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Um, and then my last question is, um, I was just kind of curious for me, but I'm sure other people would also be interested in like if you had any kind of general advice for songwriting in like in general.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I've taught songwriting before in a couple different formats. I've taught private lessons. I've also taught workshops. And in the songwriting that I've taught, I'd say like the thing that basically everybody has always, all of my students, basically every single one of my songwriting students has told me that the hardest thing for them about songwriting is knowing when a song is done, knowing when to stop, knowing when to put down the pen, so to speak, because, no, we're not always using pens when we write these days, but you know what I mean. And, before I started teaching songwriting that much, I thought that the thing that was going to be hardest for everybody was like knowing what to write about and knowing how to start writing a song. And it's actually, everybody has told me the hardest thing for them is knowing when to stop. And so, yeah, I mean, I have so much advice, or so many things I can say about songwriting, but just um, kind of like off the top of my head, just if anybody wants like a nugget, I'd say, if it is the case for you that, as it seems to be for everyone I've talked to about it so far, that the hardest thing about writing a song is knowing when to stop. Um, in a nutshell, when it's time to stop writing a song is when you get the song to a point where any change you make to it just makes it different, but doesn't necessarily make you like it more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, good to know. Oh yeah. Um, awesome. Yeah. That's actually my last question that I had. Um, thank you for the nugget for people. Um, did you have any other kind of topics or things that you wanted to talk about for this album specifically?
Yeah, well, I I mean, sorry to kind of like go on about this all day, but
I
yeah,
don't know.
one more reason that I forgot to mention why it's taking has taken me so long to get to the point where I'm like almost ready to record is because social media. So, like at some point within the first few years of working on this album, I decided, okay, like I'm gonna, post at least once a week on social media with some kind of update about this album. And like, in it's and I had it in my head that I had to do everything to the best of my ability, even including like making social media posts. So it's like you know record this video myself doing an update and like make sure the studio looked nice, and make sure there like the rack of basses and guitars and stuff had an instrument in every slot, and like and make sure I got this angle where people could see all the basses so they know I'm a bass player and blah 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 blah. And like I don't, and it just, it like, and think like writing, what am I going to say, blah, 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 making the best post I possibly can. And like, at a certain point, I was like, this is taking away from actually working on the album. Like, I'm writing social media posts, not writing songs. And, and then at a certain point, like, that, and then I mean there's all kinds of reasons for this, but at a certain point I just stopped using social media altogether for over 2 years. Um and I mean there's a lot of reasons for that, many of which don't have anything to do directly with my music, but some of them do, and that was one of them. Um and like since then it's like, yeah, I've started using social media again, because I have to, basically. I mean, I'm using Patreon. Like, it was literally designed to be used with social media. I have to. And then there's all these, kind of societal reasons why I have to, which each one's a whole own video of itself. But, I had to rework that was another thing that I had to rework, is like how is you know how is like social media and things like that, how is talking about the album, like that was another balance I had to strike, and that took time to figure out. And at points it took time away from working directly on the album. And um I don't know, I guess. Yeah, I don't want to go on all day about all of the reasons why it's taken me so long to actually start tracking this album. But the one thing that I want people to know about this album is that it's real. It's real. I'm really working on it. Like, I'm really
That's
working
fair.
on it. And I'm very close to actually being able to go in and track, like, and if anybody wants to help me with that, they can, going to patreon.com/Elliot Racine and becoming any kind of subscriber there is going to help me immensely. I mean, it's like it helps stuff like that. It helps with all the costs. Like I have a bunch of all the studio costs, all the gear costs I mentioned to deal with. Like, I really, really genuinely need help with that stuff. Like, I need financial help with it. And also, for the folks who aren't in a position to spare that monthly financial costs. I mean, even becoming a free member, and just, you know, even outside of that, just, listening to my music, just seeing me play, just, you know, dealing with the financial parts, the alone parts, the just all the parts there are to deal with. I mean, I think sometimes because I do so much on my own with my music, I think, and I've actually heard people say this to me. I know that a lot of times it can come across as if I've got everything covered and I'm just totally fine. But I promise you, like, I need a lot of help doing all of this stuff. So I appreciate all of the help, whether it's financial or otherwise, that anyone is able to give me.
Oh yeah. Let's start let's make like an album cover and then we can it's like also like link your Patreon on it and then we can like put those flyers everywhere or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean that's definitely something I can relate to. I'm sure lots of people can relate to, but it's like your passion project, so it's like I wanna like I yeah. I hope the people support you. Um I wanted to subscribe to you even though I have no money to my name, as you said that. Um, but yeah,
I think I don't think I've subscribed to you, and I mean, because of the position I'm in, like at the
Yeah.
moment, I'll have to be a free subscriber, but that'll change someday. But like yeah, yeah, we should
Yeah.
subscribe to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult to navigate. We're both learning how to navigate it at the same time. Like social media, especially, it's like I know I'm like younger, but it's like I've purposefully been a grandpa this whole time because I hate the internet, and I'm also forced to interact with it, so I can relate, and I feel like I could also talk about that like literally forever. Um, but yeah, I feel like we have like extrapolated on these topics like plenty and enough for now, and yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good spot to maybe wrap this up. But I yeah, thank you so much, and I hope that or yeah, like I I'm sure you'll still make the album happen, but like I'm sure every amount of support that you get will like I don't know, like help it.
One way to put it is the more support I get, whether it's financial or otherwise, the sooner the album will be done. It's like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
people ask me, so when's the album going to be done? I never say this out loud because it would be an incredibly rude thing to say to somebody. But it's like sometimes inside myself, what I want to say is like, I don't know, you tell me, because the there's a lot of things that I'm depending on the outside world to like share with me in
yeah,
order to get it done. And the more of those I have, the sooner the album will be done. And it's not a greed thing. It's not that I want to be rude to anybody, but that's just kind of like the truth of the situation. So yeah, you know I'm saying this as politely as I can to the world, but if anyone's wondering when the album will be done, it's like, well, the the more help I get in completing it, the sooner it will be done.
yeah, yeah,
Hopefully within the next year. Like I'm really hoping I can get into the studio. Like I'm hoping I can finish writing this song and be in the studio in like I don't know, like this summer, like in a few weeks or something. I'm hoping. No
yeah,
guarantee.
absolutely, yeah. And it's crazy. I'm really glad you described like the amount of maintenance and like upkeep that it takes for you to like just stay at the like experience level that you're at. It's like you have to do so much more than people might even imagine.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
if anyone was going to say to me like you make it look easy, I would definitely take that as a compliment, and I would take it as an indication that I'm doing something right. But as easy as it might look, like it's not easy. It's really not easy.
yeah.
It's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for your time and energy.
Oh, thank you
I,
for yours.
yeah, of course, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Did you have any final comments you wanted to say?
Mm, Nah, I got a lot out.
Yeah,
Got a
thanks.
lot out, but I got a lot out of it.
Good, great. Well, thanks so much. Bye, everyone. You can stop the recording. Okay, bye.